Yeah, man, it's January the 20th, 2024, and I want to just talk about a few things and kind of talk about how some things are happening in the world that we should be paying attention to. And I recently asked a guy at a job I was on about current events, and he really didn't know what was going on around. And I forget like that you could go through times in life where you don't pay attention to really what's going on, but there's a lot that I pay attention to now that I probably didn't pay attention to in the past, and I'm sure plenty of things have been going on, and we've probably seen troubled times before. And and I'm going to talk about targeting a little bit too in this video, um, and reliability of being dependable as a person in life. So with those subjects, I was very surprised to see that this guy worked was not. He didn't really know about the thing with Israel and Gaza, with the Hamas group, and but there's a lot of other things that are going on with the guys from Yemen, the Houthi. They're shooting missiles at commercial ships going into the Red Sea, and now the U.S. and a few other countries started to shoot um, missiles or airstrikes at their, I think mainly at their missile capability. You have this thing with Iran that's shot missiles into Syria and Iraq, and uh, and also um, Pakistan. And Pakistan did airstrikes back to them. And all of this stuff that I'm talking about is literally like in the last week. This stuff has actually been going on like every day, and it's ongoing. And it's very troubling because uh, I don't think that we have this much um, widespread attacks and things like that going on. So there's a very strong possibility that we could end up in some kind of war, and that's concerning. The economic stuff that's going on is not as good as people think, I believe. I think that it's uh, kind of a just, there's a lot that could go wrong in the economic view right now, as far as people with debt and the government with debt and the high interest rates and the high prices of things. And all of these things are stuff that you should pay attention to, really, and and really try to know what's going on in the world. I also think you need to. I've been preaching this a lot, I know, the last couple years, but you need to start learning as much as you can about things that are important. Maybe not so much like political, because I know that gets like frustrating, but and I used to be into the politics, but not so much anymore. I do follow it somewhat because I follow a lot of news, especially like on YouTube and just different places on the internet, not just like Fox and CNN or something like that. It's a very diversified news intake for me personally, from around the world, but not so much the politics, but at least the economics and the things that are happening with business, and pay attention to not make bad decisions. It's like all time highs, pretty close to in the real estate market, or recently was, and it's not come down much. And then you have all time highs in the stock market. You've got pretty high interest rates, not historically super high, but very high for like most of our adult lives, probably the highest, and it's been ongoing. And so, you know, if you buy a house that typically was $150,000 and now it's $300,000, and you could have got a 3% interest rate, and now you're going to get 7 or 8, that makes a big difference. And if you can imagine, like 8% interest on $300,000, like $24,000 a year just in interest. So there's $2,000 a month without even paying any of the principal down. So it might not be the best time to buy a house. And if you don't know that, you're like, oh, I'm trying to get into a house, and you're not paying attention, then you end up underwater or upside down or owing more than it's worth over the next 10, 20 years, waiting for it to come back. You really just get trapped into a thing. Maybe one day you could refinance or something, but those kind of things are definitely something that you should pay attention to, at least, and what's going on around the world, because there's a lot of drama, and the weapons that humanity has created at this point are so serious. And a big war, which typically there usually is big wars throughout history, and we're very spoiled, in especially in America, to not really ever have wars on our grounds, and to really ever see a really big war in most of our lifetimes. Some of the very old people were around in World War II, and we haven't had a big war since then. There's been plenty of wars. There's always wars, but it's kind of spreading around now, and gets the risk level gets very difficult. Also, all those ships that can't go through the Red Sea, their insurance and cost is very high, if they can even get insurance, or they have to go around Africa. And so the price of shipping goes double, then everything else around the world, is the price of consumer products is also going to rise. And so I don't think we've seen the last of prices even going up, um, at the same time as you have like a national debt crisis, just about, where the interest that we pay as a country from the treasury bonds and treasury notes that they've sold, um, for the government to borrow money, and that's where that debt comes from. And the interest rates are high right now, and that hurts them too, because it makes a large percentage of the GDP actually have to go to interest. I think we're paying more in interest than we're paying on defense spending, and you know how much America spends on defense spending every year. So all of those things are definitely something to be concerned about and to pay attention to, and try to position yourself and make your life decisions based on the actual events and the atmosphere and economic situation out there in the world at this time. So it's, and that's up to everybody to decide what's best for them. But those are just the circumstances to build that decision around. Um, Also, the targeting thing. Okay, it's been ongoing for me for a long time, and I don't really know how to think about this, because there was a lot of things that I did that messed up my own life, and while I was being targeted, and I almost feel like at some point I was making excuses, um, using this targeting as a reason, but it's definitely a strong reason that can mess your life up. But after the first couple years, I understood what was going on, and I always have dealt with it just fine. Um, but playing into it is something that I did for far too long, and the last, at least 2 or 3 years have been very different. Probably 3 years, where I've completely just said I'm not gonna play their game at all, and I'm gonna play my game, and it's gonna be a process, but I'm gonna play my game. And playing my game consists of um learning a lot of knowledge about many different important things, including financial and technology, and how they do their stuff, and how I can be in a position to deal with it financially, legally, psychologically, in every way, strengthen myself in every way. And that process has been the best process of anything. Instead of just like trying to figure out what they're doing, how they're doing it, trying to play their games. And when you accept, or for me, when I accepted that this was not going to be a instant fix, if I could just figure out, where they are, or exactly how they're accessing the technology or something like that. And without the knowledge and without putting in that effort, I don't think you'll ever come across that, unless somebody, for whatever reason, decides to bring you into that circle. Okay. And then says, here, this is how you access neural monitoring. Um, but I know I'm jumping subjects, but I usually don't talk about the news and current events and world events, but there's a lot going on that's important. But back to the whole thing. Going to school has been a big thing for me, and learning about financial stuff has been a big thing for me. And becoming a reliable person has made that process a lot easier, because I know how hard it is to not be reliable, especially considering our circumstance. But when you got people, that can see you or talk to you or whatever, all the things that we talk about in my videos and in the comments and everywhere else where people are talking about being targeted, all this neural monitoring, artificial telepathy, weird broadcast stuff um, that can be troubling to try to explain to someone who's never had those kind of experiences. Um, there's no easy fix though. There's a process, and going from learning about it in the beginning when you're initially becoming a victim of neural monitoring, you could say, okay, maybe a year or 2 years or something to try to grasp my head around how is this even possible. But then at some point you can't help them anymore by not playing the long game and playing like the process out that's going to put you in the position to win. So one of the things in life that's made a big difference is being somebody that's reliable. And so if you can get past that initial um, just blowing of the mind where you're first experiencing all of this broadcast stuff, then that at that time you can use that as your reason, and maybe there's nothing else you can figure out how to do to steer your life in the right direction because it's so traumatizing really to go through that. But when you can, then it's time to quit making the excuses that, oh, they're bothering me and I can't work or I can't do this. And I see a lot of you guys saying that kind of stuff. And I do a lot, and I could the reason I know you can do it is because I do a lot, but I know I could do a lot more. So so we can all do something to try to make our lives better. Being reliable is one of the biggest things. And when you're reliable, you don't necessarily have to be the best at something, and you don't necessarily have to. I mean, you don't have to be the best. You're always dependable, and that makes you useful for many other people. And so you start to get people in your life in your corner, and just make a list of what do you care about. You got family, and you got personal health, and you got financial stuff, and you want to be there. You want to be there for your family. You want to be, you want to be able to look at somebody and be like, I'll be around. Let me know if you need something. I'll be around, and that matters a lot. And um, never again in my life will I use anything, targeting or anything. I will never let anybody else push me to a point, and I will never uh, submerge my life into a situation where I'm at the point where I can't be there and say, I'll be around. So that's really one of the big important things. And start loving your life and loving who you are and being yourself, and forget about these gang stalkers. I know you can't forget about them, but I'm saying, like, forget about their idea of which direction your life should go. Forget about the stupid things they're saying and the stupid frequencies they turn on and the screams and the repeating back to you whatever you're thinking and all that stupid, dumb stuff they do. They're sitting there like idiots, like they're so mind blown by you. Just forget about them and make your plan. And if you follow that for long enough, you'll find yourself somewhere, and that'll be a lot better of a place. So that's my advice for today. Uh, Hope you guys are having a good weekend. I know it's snowed in a lot of places, and I've been fortunate enough to see a lot of these places over the past several years, and it's been fun, and I plan to continue to live my life in a way that I want to live my life, and to only move one direction, and that's forward with a steady increase in value, and my value to other people, and my value as a net worth, and my value as far as my psychological capacity to be able to achieve things, all of these personal health, everything. So, all right, so I'll quit for now, but I hope you guys are having a safe weekend out there in all of that snow, and I'll see you on the next one.